If you remember my previous, or you looked at my YouTube videos, we talked about 4 numbers you have to have. You have to have the ARV, you have to have your exit number, you have to have your max allowable offer, and you have your goal target. So if you're negotiating from your goal target and then you're moving to your max allowable offer, that's going to give you room to do what we're talking about, right? But if you start at your max allowable, then you go up, right? You're moving into your profit and your exit point, and that's why people have low spreads, right? That's where they go, I can't figure out why my spreads are only $5,000. I can't figure out why my spreads are only $3,000 or $7,000, because they're starting at a max allowable and they're moving into their profit up to their exit number, right? So if you start at your goal target and then you move up to the max allowable, that gives you room, and it still establishes your spread that you have in your business. Now, to do the split it down the middle, you have to get down to that point. You know, you can't do it. You can't do it with a $20,000. He's at 170, you're at 160. You can't do that. You have to work with them on the 2 areas, which are all the burden to sell at retail, and then all the repairs that need to happen is going to reduce that gap. So then you can negotiate and get to a point where it's a split it down the middle number. Now, what if, here's the question, right? And here's the gold. What happens if they are stuck at 170 and you are stuck at 150? That's the question. What do you do? What do you do? Do you walk away? Do you walk away? So you're stuck at they're stuck at, you're stuck at 170, they're stuck at 170, and you're stuck at 150. And you cannot close the gap. They will not move or budge. They won't budge off the 170. What do you do? Someone to gap it, right? What do you do? So the seller is stuck at and this happens, I'm telling you, all the time. The bottom line is what you do, they're stuck. So you have a choice. I either walk away, or I could potentially contract the property, right? So what's the ramifications if you contract the property, you sign a contract that you're gonna close it, and then you have to walk away, or then you have to renegotiate, right? What happens? It sucks, right? It sucks because now you can't sell it, and then you have to renegotiate, and you feel like you're on the hook, and that sucks, right? So how do you work with the seller so the seller's on your side? So think about it. They're at 170, you're at 150, they're not gonna budge. You got a $20,000 gap, right? But how do you still play in the game? So here's what we do, right? And I want you to write this down. You're gonna need to write this down. I'm telling you, this will pick you up another 100, 150, 200,000, 300. I mean, it's like ridiculous, right? And we were just in the Border Mastermind, and there's guys doing 200, 300 deals a year, crushing it, right? And this is a method that's viable to pick up another, 15 to 20% of the contracts and work with a seller. So here's the goal. The goal is to get the seller on your side. You got to get them on your side. So you're not essentially, good move. You're not essentially, they're the buyer. You're the buyer, they're the seller. Now there's an expectation that's created by you closing. So how do you get it under contract, relinquish that expectation, and align yourself with the seller to help them get the deal done? Okay, so here's the goal. What you do is you say, listen, Mr. Seller, I can appreciate the fact you want the you want the $170,000. I'm comfortable at $150,000. I know you want the $170,000, but here's the deal: is that I can't commit to doing that. I don't want to let you down. I don't want to get to a point where we're gonna, I told you about the roof, I told you about the AC, I told you what's going on. I don't want to get in a position where I have to let you down. I have to call you and cancel. I don't want to do that, right? I don't want to do that. But here's the deal: I got something interesting. What we have is I'm a part of a group of investors, and these investors buy properties for the purpose of VRBO. Now, are you familiar with VRBO, Mr. Seller? And they're gonna go, well, I don't know, VRBO. They're vacation rentals. It's like an Airbnb, vacation rental. They buy the properties, they use it for vacation rentals, they put the property up on the sites. Now, here's the ticket about vacation rentals, Mr. Seller. they can tend to pay more than I can that's going to do a fix and flip or a buy and hold or something like that. They can tend to pay more for the property. So that being said, Mr. Seller, what I'd like to do is I'd like to sign a contract with you, right? But it's going to be subject to me finding an end buyer. So what that means, Mr. Seller, is I'm going to be able to talk to these VRBO and these Airbnb buyers. I can talk to them about your property, and either they can buy it, and these guys, typically they can pay me a finder's fee, or I can just be goodwill with these potential buyers, right? And work with them and help them, to build their business and find deals. But what this does for you is that if I can't, and just give me 15 days, if I can't within 15 days find it, no harm, no foul, and I'll keep you in constant communication of me talking to these VRBO and these Airbnb buyers that can tend to pay more. I'll give you the communication on what their feedback is and what they can do. And listen, if I can help you sell it and you get your 170 and you don't have to pay commissions and you don't have to pay closing costs and you don't have to pay fees, you don't have to show the property, wouldn't that be a win-win for everybody? Now, I'm obviously going to look good because I'm going to help them build their business and find properties. And it's going to be great for you that you can turn around and you can sell it. Now, after 15 days, if it doesn't work, and these guys can't, then guess what? I can cancel the contract and we can be done. But more times than not, these VRBO buyers, if they see that the house has potential there, will buy the property and then can sell it. Now, what does that do for you? What does that do for you? Right? What does that do for you? You get the property under contract for 170, right? Now you put it out to the market. And I can tell you, there are sometimes I put deals out to the market and I miss something. I miss what the market sees, and that comes in, and now all of a sudden, next thing you know, my phone rings off the hook, and we don't put it out for 170, obviously. We put it out for 180. And we're going, man, that's no way that's going to sell. That thing is way too high priced. There's no way it's going to sell. You put it out and you put it out to the market, and all of a sudden your phone floods in at the 180, and guess what? Now you sell the property and you make a $10,000 profit. Or the latter is going to happen where you're going to put out the property and people are going to come back and say, listen, I can't do one, it's going to come in right at the strike price at 180 or 170. They're going to come in at, 168, 165, 163, whatever that number is. Now you get the property under contract. Now you're in communication and on the same side of the seller. So now you call the seller and say, listen, man, I've got people that want to purchase a property at 165. So assuming you get an offer at 170, you can say, listen, we can do the deal for 165, Mr. Seller, and you can make $5,000 on the deal. So let's say you get an offer at 173 and they want to be at 170. You can say, listen, Mr. Seller, I got someone that can close it. They can close it next Friday and they can get it done at 165. Now you have a $7,000 spread, on the deal, right? So now you can work with the seller and you can create a gap. And the way you create the gap is say, listen, I got someone on the hook. They love the property. They want to buy it. They can close on Friday. They can get the deal done, but it's going to be at this number, not your 170 number, but the 165, not your 170, but the 168. Or you just might put it out to market and they want to buy the thing for $175,000. You make $5,000 on it. What this does, it keeps you in the game. It builds a trust between you and the seller, right? That you can now work with them to help them sell their house. You can relay the offers, relay the feedback, and so now you're relaying feedback. You can do a reduction on that if you get a buyer that offers, let's say you're at 170 and they offer 168, right? What do you do? So you go back and say, listen, I got a guy at 163, and he can close it next Friday. And, what do you want to do? And more times than not, the seller's going to go, you know what? You've been great to me. You've been communicating with me. Why don't we just get it done at the 163? We'll close it next Friday and be done with it. And guess what? You just make $5,000 or $6,000 on the deals. So that is a way to get the property to. This is a way to overcome objections. I call it what's called the ejection annihilation method. Right? There's 16 deal killing objections. And then when you make an offer, a strategic offer to a seller is going to come back with their number. They're going to reciprocate on a number. Then we talked about how to close the gap, that gap between you and them, using the cash no commissions, fees, or the repairs on the property, closing that gap, and then using the split it down the middle approach once you get that gap closed, and or the other approach of where getting it under contract subject to end buyer, and then being able to work with that seller to potentially help them move that property. All right, gotta head back. Jeez, it's almost 8 o'clock. I gotta get back and get ready and get back to the office. So, all right, guys, have a fabulous day. Rock the house on Tuesday. Go get some contracts signed, and hit me back up when you do get a contract signed. I love to hear it. That's an exciting day. Getting contracts, getting deals, turn around selling them, and crushing out. So, hope you guys have a fabulous day today, man. My bay is packed. I'm going from boom, 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 boom all day, and it's pretty exciting to create that momentum. So you guys go out there and crush it. Have a fabulous, awesome, rocking the house day, and we get some contracts. Take care. God bless.